You know, I often get asked how France compares to other countries in the world. So, I thought for this video, let's compare France to one of the greatest nations on earth. That's right, we're going to compare this country to the USA. And it must be the greatest nation on earth, because that's where McDonald's is from. We're comparing the United States of America, not because it's the best nation in the world. In fact, that's a subjective notion. And certainly not for its innovations in the fast food industry. No. In reality, it's simply because that's where most of you are watching from. The best way to make this comparison is going to be to break it down into distinct categories. The categories that we're going to be judging are as follows: education, work opportunities, public services, taxes, cost of living, safety, people, and last but not least, location. By the way, I am back in the apartment that I'm renovating, getting back into the swing of things, doing a few odd jobs. Just general progress. This cable needs to come out. No idea what it's for. Education, and we're going to focus on higher education because education under the age of 18 is for the most part free and easily accessible in both countries, but higher education is where it differs a little bit. Now, starting with the States, in the last 2 decades, student loan debt has doubled, and that's absolutely insane. But in France, you don't usually pay to go to university. It's, for the most part, apart from a few select prestigious schools here in France, it's free. And in fact, if your family is low income, then you are paid to go to university. You get something called the bourse, and it'll be, I don't know, it can vary from person to person, but you know, it's not a negligible amount, but you'll get your dormitory paid for, and then you'll receive a few €100 per month to pay for all your basic necessities, such as food and other basic necessities. So, also, the level of education is still great here in France. You globally recognised diplomas, of course. So I'm going to have to say, based on the fact that a lot of students leave college in America with huge amounts of debt once they graduate, whereas in France they don't usually do that, I'm going to give the point to France for education. Once you graduate from your college or university of choice, well, brings us to our next category, career opportunities. And this is where things really start to differ. Because, well, America's known as the land of opportunities, and it's a big place. Plenty of cities, plenty of places to go, plenty of money to be made. Whereas France, well, if you want some serious career opportunities, you're going to be relegated to just a couple of places throughout the whole country. Of course, Paris and maybe Lyon in the south, those are the two largest cities. And there's quite a difference in income and unemployment between the two countries. The average income in France, for example, is about just shy of $46,000, whereas in America, it's more or less $75,000. $75,000. It's quite the difference. And that has really separated itself. They've really kind of grown apart in the last 10 or so years since the financial crisis in 2008. America has really kind of grown in terms of its average income. Unemployment is another one where, well, France is around 7.5% unemployment throughout the whole country, and America apparently is only 3.6%, and much, much lower. So, well, the point has to go to the great USA, of course, in this instance. And just to give my personal opinion, I've never really had any problems getting work in the countryside when you go through a job agency, but the quality of work, this is in my younger years, of course, when I was around 20 years old, the quality of work isn't the best. You know, it's sometimes factory work, working in a hotel, reception, night work, that was, you know, it's not been great. And the pay is terrible. Pay is absolutely terrible. Yeah, those were not fond memories, I must admit. Point to the USA. The third category is probably my least favourite, and that's taxes. Well, taxes here in France, quite high, some of the highest in the world, in fact. And if you take an income of, let's say, 100,000 euros per year, wouldn't that be nice? Well, here in France, you would have to pay around 46% of that in taxes. That's social contributions and actual income tax. And that's not fun. It's quite a lot. I looked online, and apparently in the States, if you were to make $100,000, well, you'd be taxed around 30.6%. So, yes, 15% difference, in fact, 15 grand. It's quite a big margin, you know. So, yeah, obviously in the States, there's also state tax in some states, but that varies. So it still works out less than 46% on 100K. Not everyone makes 100K. I wish I made 100K, but I don't. But I still get taxed quite a lot. So there you go. I'm gonna have to give this one to the States. The United States get the point here, because there's also VAT, which I haven't even talked about. VAT in France, for the most part, is 20% value added tax, and that's on all goods. And in America, it's usually less, but it varies from state to state as well. There you go. There you go. So America gets the point there. Well done, America. Point, excuse me, point number 4, public services. And what I mean by public services is the infrastructure, I can't say that word, the roads, the hospitals, healthcare, retirement, unemployment, all that stuff, the whole social aspect. I'm so sorry. So, with regards to public services, let's start with the USA. Now, obviously, in the USA, you pay less tax, and from my understanding, you have to save up for your own retirement, what's called a 401k. Now, you can probably educate me more on that because I don't know too much about it. But here in France, your retirement is basically taken care of. So those higher taxes that we mentioned in the previous point, well, that goes towards your pension. That's paid for. So when you reach retirement age, they'll calculate your pension based on your best 20 years of income, I believe. So you do get a pension here in France taken care of if you've worked all your life and paid into the system. Healthcare is another big aspect. Now, we hear the horror stories from the States about people actually going bankrupt because they can't afford expensive healthcare if something's come up, an illness or an accident. And that's truly heartbreaking for those who don't have insurance. Here in France, that is also taken care of. You don't have to worry about healthcare falling over, sorry. You don't have to worry about it. That's also taken care of, included in the taxes that you pay. So yes, we do pay higher taxes here, but we get more for our money. So I'm gonna have to give the point to France. Next category, cost of living. Now online, according to the World Wide Web, in the States, the cost of living is 16.8% higher than in France. Now, based on my own experience, here in France, consumer goods are more expensive. For example, the latest iPhone, its most popular phone, is more expensive here in France, and that's due to VAT being higher, 20% here in France. The most popular electric car, more expensive here in France. What else is more expensive here in France? Gasoline is way more expensive here in France as well. However, property is way cheaper here in France, on average that is, of course. There are rural areas, less desirable areas in the States where property is cheap, I imagine. But in France you can find some proper bargains. Rent as well. For a one-bedroom apartment here in this area, you're looking at 400 to 500 euros per month. You know, you could probably even get a two-bedroom for 500 to 600 euros a month. So you imagine, oh, that's bills included, by the way. But do you imagine the price of an apartment in the States? I mean, I hear people regularly paying upwards of $1,000 per month for a one-bedroom apartment, you know. And in New York and the big cities, it's just thousands per month. It's insane, it's insane. And of course, in Paris, for example, you're going to get more expensive rent. But, I don't know, America just seems more expensive on the property side of things. So, it's potato, tomato. I think it balances itself out, and I'm going to have to give this one to both countries. It's a tie. Next category. Next category, safety. Now here's the thing with safety. It's a bit of a tricky one because, well, United States, it's quite a big country, and the great state of Maine isn't going to have the same crime rate as Detroit, for example. And it's the same with France. You go to Paris or Marseille, in the city, it's not going to have the same crime rate as, well, here in rural France. So I'm sure there's places I'd feel safe in America, and there's places where I feel safe in France, and vice versa. Places I wouldn't want to go to in America, and places I'd like to avoid here in France as well. So again, it's going to have to be a tie. Another, whoa, you nearly fell. Another category that I want to compare is quite a controversial one. The people between the Americans and the French. What's the difference? And well, before I get onto the public roads, let me finish my explanation. To be honest with you, there's good and bad in every country, including America and France. America's not a country, I know, I call it America. It's a force of habit. But I've met plenty of terrible French people. But the good French, they outnumber the idiots of this beautiful nation by a long shot. So don't listen to any false stereotypes that you may hear, you know, saying that, oh, the French are arrogant and this and that. It's an old stereotype, and it's, in my eyes, it's long been disproven. French, lovely people, friendly as anything, especially in the rural areas where we are. Vive la France, that's what I say. As for the Americans, well, I've had more and more interactions with the beautiful people of America since starting YouTube, of course. I've had the pleasure of meeting a few, and you know what? It's been nothing but positive. Love the Americans. They're a breath of fresh air. They may be loud at times, but yeah, I love them. Good old Americans. You know who you are, the people I've met. Yeah, brings a smile to my face when I come across an American citizen. And that's the truth. But in this case, it's gonna have to be another tie. Last but not least is, of course, location. And you would think that this particular location is quite hard to beat. And you'd be right. But the truth is, great USA has got sandy beaches, magnificent mountains, city skylines, and wonderful countryside. But the truth is, France also has sandy beaches, magnificent mountains, city skylines, and wonderful countryside. So I'm left with but one option. It's going to have to be a tie. And by my calculations, we end in a tie. That's right. And of course, it is quite fitting because each country has its own unique pros and cons, and it's down to the individual to really find which country suits them the best. And although I've never lived or even visited the great United States of America, I do genuinely hope to go there one day and perhaps even live there, because it is the greatest nation on earth, because that's where McDonald's is from. I'm just kidding, but for real, I do hope to visit that magnificent country one day. But I'm quite happy living in France, in all honesty. So, my luggage is packed though. You know why I'm doing this, don't you? It's for the thumbnail. And this is really heavy. Okay, that should about do it for the thumbnail. This video was particularly lengthy. A lot of preparation and editing went into this, all crammed into just one single day. So I do really appreciate if you managed to reach the end of this video, and feel free to leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on it. And while you're at it, you may as well like and even subscribe if you haven't already. It's much appreciated. Next video is going to be tomorrow. I'm going to love you and leave you. Hope you enjoyed this different video. It's not too don't take it literally, you know, it's just my take on the differences between the US and France. I thought it'd be fun to do, okay? Just a bit of fun, just a bit of fun. Okay, well, I'm off now. So I've got to put this back where it belongs, in there. Well, that looks like a good one for the thumbnail, doesn't it? Okay, I've got to stop it with the thumbnail stuff. I'm obsessed with thumbnails. Okay, see you in the next video tomorrow. Bye for now.